The views expressed on this program are not necessarily those of WTJX, its board, staff, or underwriters.
Closed captioning of this program is underwritten by AARP of the Virgin Islands.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily those of WTJX, its board, staff, or underwriters.
Good day, and welcome to the League of Women Voters Meet the Candidates Forum, a program produced in collaboration with WTJX TV for well over 35 years. It is our hope that through these programs, you, the voting public, will have a better understanding of each candidate running for elective office in the U.S. Virgin Islands. We invite you to look at all our programs for the 2024 election year right here on WTJX TV, with candidates seeking office as a senator in the 36th legislature or as delegates for the Constitutional Convention. For the first time also, we are interviewing candidates for the boards of education and election. Although all the candidates for these positions were invited, not all responded or accepted the invitation. We are delighted to have here today, however, 4 candidates running for the position of senator in the 36th legislature in the St. Croix district. I am Francine Lang, a member of the League of Women Voters of the Virgin Islands, and I will serve as the moderator for today's program. The candidates have been informed in advance of the guidelines for the program. No candidate had access to the questions in advance. The first responder to each question will be rotated among the participants. Answers are generally 60 or 90 seconds. Any comment directed specifically at another participant will be followed by a rebuttal of 50 seconds. All are expected to be respectful of everyone. So let's begin. I will ask each candidate to identify who they are and to state their political affiliation and ballot number. We will learn more about each as our discussion ensues. I will start with candidate number 1.
Greetings. My name is Jelani Ritter. I am candidate number 21 on your November election ballot, and I'm an independent candidate for the 36th legislature.
Thank you. Candidate number 2.
Good day. My name is Julian S. Vieira. I'm an independent candidate for the 36th legislature, and I'm number 16 on your ballot.
Candidate number 3.
Yes, thank you. Hi, my name is Diane Prosper. I'm an independent candidate in the 36th legislature, and my number is 22.
And our final candidate.
Blessings. My name is Norman John Baptiste, also known as Bapo. My number on the ballot is the number 13, and I am running as a no-party candidate.
Thank you very much. Let's begin talking about your readiness to become a senator. Here is a 2-part question for which you will each have 90 seconds to answer. As a candidate for a seat in the 36th legislature, what are your competencies, education, or training that will make you a good choice to address our issues as a senator? And then identify your recent accomplishments that demonstrate those skills and your readiness for this position. We'll start with Mr. Jelani Ritter. You have 90 seconds.
Thank you. I present to you 15 years of experience in labor relations, compliance, and management. I have a bachelor's degree in operations management, as well as other competencies and certifications in labor relations, as well as compliance. For the last 15 years, I've been working with a global defense contractor, the second largest in the world, in the area of policy creation as well as compliance, making sure that the company, which employs over 55,000 individuals, is compliant with state and federal guidelines as it relates to compensation, benefits, as well as payroll.
Again, here's a two-part question for which you'll have 90 seconds to answer. As a candidate for a seat in the 36th legislature, what are your competencies, education, or training that will make you a good choice to address our issues as a senator? And then identify your recent accomplishments that demonstrate those skills and your readiness for this position. We'll now go to Mr. Julian Vieira, and you have 90 seconds.
Good day, my name is Julian Vera. Competencies. I was brought up in a very stable family home where father and mother was present. My background, I worked at one job for all my life, which is St. Croix Radiator, a family-owned business. I've trained in this community many of our young men who are involved with the law through the Public Defender's Office. I am active in many local non-profit organizations, including the Ethiopian World Federation. I am active in the PTA of the Lomokel Elementary School and also in the PTA of the Alfredo Andrews School. I'm a people person. I understand where the Virgin Islands is at right now and what it would take to move the Virgin Islands from where it is to a better location. Thank you.
Thank you. And as a candidate for a seat in the 36th legislature, what are your competencies, education, and training that will make you a good choice to address our issues as a senator? And then identify your recent accomplishments that demonstrate those skills and your readiness for this position. We'll go next to Ms. Diane Prosper, and you have 90 seconds.
Yes, thank you for that question. Again, my name is Diane Prosper. I am number 22 on the ballot. So I have over 2 decades of working in public service here in the Virgin Islands. I currently hold a master's in psychology with a concentration in counseling. I hold an associate's associates in police science administration. For the past 20 years, I worked where we had to make sure, this is the Bureau of Corrections, making sure that we are in compliance with a lot of the federal mandates. That's one. I'm also a licensed therapist here in the Virgin Islands, mental health therapist. My recent accomplishment, I would say I'm a small business owner, and it's very difficult to run a business, small business here in the Virgin Islands. And my experience of dealing with HR, payroll, taxes, I believe I am very much well equipped to be a senator with your vote in the 36th legislature. I thank you. Again, Diane Prosper, 22 on the ballot.
Thank you. As a candidate for a seat in the 36th legislature, what are your competencies, education, or training that will make you a good choice to address our issues as a senator? And then identify your recent accomplishments that demonstrate those skills and your readiness for this position. We'll have Mr. Norman Jean-Baptiste, and you have 90 seconds.
Thank you for the opportunity. Norman John Baptiste, also known as Bapo. I'm a retired public school educator. I'm also a former senator, and I am currently a talk show host on the radio station WSTX. I bring a 3-point perspective to this job. Before serving as a senator, then serving as a senator, and now being on the outside watching what's going on, and interfacing with the general public, I have a firm understanding of the issues, the concerns, and I am well prepared to deal with them. The multipurpose facility over at Castleburg is a recent accomplishment of mine. I was the one who moved legislation to get that done, And there are several impressive pieces of education-related legislation on the books that I was the author of those things. So I am fully prepared and ready to serve.
Thank you. Now, let's talk about your vision for the Virgin Islands. 2027 will mark the 100th anniversary of American citizenship for Virgin Islanders and 110 years since our purchase from Denmark. The question is, what is your vision with respect to self-governance for the USVI, and what role do you intend to play, if any? Please note that self-governance does not necessarily imply independence. And you all have 60 seconds. We'll start with Mr. Julian Vieira.
Self-governance for the USVI. First of all, we'd have to look at foundational issues when it comes to self-governance. And my platform is solely based on self-governance. We will begin with education. We first must understand that we need to readjust the education system that we're currently under to include more education about ourselves, to include educating our children of the holisticness of getting along with each other so that we can then create a better community for us to live in. Self-governance also includes food production. It includes self-sufficiency. Before we can talk about self-governance, we should talk about proper education, proper food production, and also better government.
Thank you very much. 2027 will mark the 100th anniversary of American citizenship for Virgin Islanders and 100 years since the purchase from Denmark. And the question is, what is your vision with respect to self-governance for the USVI, and what role do you intend to play? And remember, self-governance does not necessarily imply independence. We will go to Ms. Prosper. You have 60 seconds.
Yes, thank you. Once again, my name is Diane Prosper. I'm number 22 on the ballot. This is a very important question, and I thank you for it. We are a people where we need to decide how we're going to move forward, okay? I would say before we look at self-governance, we need to look at our status, okay? Where are we? Where do we want to be independent? You know, we need to look at which one that serves our people. We need to look at where we're going. We need to look at the Organic Act 1954 to see how are we going to work with it. Is it a plan that we can start working on? But I think it's high time that we, our people, write our own story, and including our culture. We're so different in certain ways that we need to be able to write our own story as to how we want to be viewed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, what is your vision with respect to self-governance for the U.S. Virgin Islands, and what role do you intend to play, if any? And again, note that self-governance does not necessarily imply independence. We'll go now to Mr. Norman Jean-Baptiste. You have 60 seconds.
Self-governance for Virgin Islanders means that the people of the territory have to begin to put in place the framework whereby they will run the government systems without reliance on other outside forces. In other words, the people must come together to determine what their goals and objectives are and put in place the framework whereby they will accomplish those goals and objectives. For now, we're relying on a set of principles or laws given to us by the United States of America. That needs to be changed. And I think we are on the track right now in terms of trying to have a constitutional convention whereby we can accomplish that goal. My role in that aspect is to enlighten people as much as possible in terms of what constitutional development is all about. And of course, once I'm elected to serve, I will give it my full energies and effort to make sure that everyone understands exactly what this is all about and how we can go about accomplishing that goal. Thank you.
Thank you. What is your vision with respect to self-governance for the U.S. Virgin Islands, and what role do you intend to play, if any? Please note that self-governance does not necessarily imply independence. We will go to Mr. Jelani Ritter. You have 60 seconds.
Thank you for the question. Policies change, laws don't. The Revised Organic Act of 1954 has been the governing document that we as Virgin Islanders has been using to govern ourselves for the last few years. I do, however, believe that amendments can be made to the Revised Organic Act to make it a more modern day document that address a lot of the issues that we're currently facing in the Virgin Islands. My part, as far as adding to the conversation, is first we need to identify, like my brother to the left mentioned, agriculture is one of the most important components, how we're going to feed and sustain ourselves. And before we can think about independence or anything else outside of the Revised Organic Act, we need to come together and form methodologies in how we will further develop our own island nation before we think about anything else.
Let's look at the legislature and talk first about its size. Our census figures have shown a significant decrease in population. Note there were 15 senators when we had a population of over 100,000 several years ago. But we still have 15 senators with a population now of just over 85,000. A significant drop in population. This means that the cost of the legislature and the cost of each of the 15 senators is a higher bill now for citizens. Given this, shouldn't the size of the legislature be apportioned every 10 years based on census data? Why or why not? We will start with Ms. Diane Prosper, and you have 60 seconds.
Thank you for that question. Diane Prosper again, number 22 on the ballot. This talk has been forever in our community that we have too many senators, okay? One of the things that I have heard is to look at reapportionment. Look at how we can cut down the amount of senators and actually look at a way where we can do districting. Now, that will take some time. It will take, again, we at the legislature, we're supposed to be the government's supposed to be for the people, by the people. So it's good to have town halls, meetings. We need to come together, have a consensus to find out ideas as to if this is how we want to go. That's just one of the things that we talk about. There are pros and cons to it, but I believe that it wouldn't hurt to try to see how we can do it.
Thank you. Mr. John Baptiste, again, given the factor that our population has gone down, and it means that the cost of the legislature for 15 senators is higher now for our citizen, shouldn't the size of the legislature be apportioned every 10 years based on census data? Why or why not? And you have 60 seconds.
I think, first of all, and thanks for the question, I think we need to look at comparatively what's being done in other jurisdictions. I think you will find out that most jurisdictions do not reduce the size of government without sound evidence and investigation that leads to that. I think we ought to be concerned here in terms of why our population decreases, what steps we can take to repatriate the persons, families who have left us, how we can bring them back here to stay home, rather than trying to downsize the legislature. If we can upsize our population, if we can stabilize our economy and improve the quality of life of people here in the territory and expand our economy, then certainly we can accommodate all parties concerned. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, given all the information I mentioned before, shouldn't the size of the legislature be apportioned every 10 years based on census data? Why or why not? We'll go to Mr. Jelani Ritter, and you have 60 seconds.
Thank you for the question. Jelani Ritter, number 21 on the ballot. In my humble opinion, politics has a place, and that place is with the people. As a legislator, I don't think it's in my position to determine whether the legislature should be reduced based on census size. That is a conversation that should be taken to the people and allow the people to bring that to vote. Personally speaking, I believe that we don't need 15 senators to be effective. However, that call again should be placed on the people.
Thank you. And Mr. Vieira, again, shouldn't the size of the legislature be apportioned every 10 years based on census data? Why or why not? And you have 60 seconds.
Good day again. My name is Julian Vieira, number 16 on your ballot. And yes, I do think the legislature should be reapportioned. Not necessarily to downsize, but to be reapportioned so we can have districting, which would foster better government. With districting, we can have individuals responsible for particular areas, and St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. So then the people would be more responsible to the people that elected them. Again, my name is Julian Vera, number 16 on your ballot.
Thank you. Let's talk about accountability for senators. Concerns have been raised about lack of accountability with respect to senators. It has been suggested that numbered seats might allow for better accountability. What are your responses in this area? And we will start with Mr. Jean-Baptiste. You have 60 seconds.
Norman John Baptiste, number 13 on the ballot. I believe it is high time for us to reapportion the legislature so that we have district representatives. In other words, let's skip the 15 senators that we have, but let's have all of them operating on the district level so that a senator is responsible for his constituencies in that particular district where he lives, where he knows the concerns, the issues confronting the people, and he can turn around and address those concerns. And once we do that, I think that we're going to have an effective and efficient form of government here in the territory. Norman John Baptiste, number 13 on the ballot.
Thank you very much. Now we'll go to Mr. Jelani Ritter. Again, lack of accountability. What are your responses? You have 60 seconds. And I'd like to caution the candidates, you will have time at the end to give your ballot number and everything like that. But since you have a short period of time to answer these questions, if you could just leave that for the end, that would be great. Thank you very much. Mr. Ritter, 60 seconds.
Accountability in the legislature has been a huge conversation lately. And I do believe that with an island that is 84 square miles, reapportionment may not be the way that we want to go. It further creates separation amongst the citizens. I believe that oversight and accountability is one of the roles as a legislature, and the constituents should be able to hold our senators accountable for what we elected and hope that they would do. So I don't believe in further reapportioning in the Senate in terms of districting, but I do believe that we should hold them accountable for the job that we hired them to do.
Thank you. And we'll go to Mr. Vieira next. Concerns have been raised about lack of accountability with respect to senators. It has been suggested that numbered seats might allow for better accountability. What are your responses to this idea? And you have 60 seconds.
We know that having 7 or 8 representatives for one district is unconstitutional as far as the United States Constitution is concerned. My proposal is to reapportion the District of St. Croix into 4 districts, St. Thomas into 4 districts, St. John into 1 district, which would make 9 district senators. The other 6 remaining senators, would be at-large senators, which would be responsible for territorial-wide issues. This is a serious part of my platform because I recognize that accountability has been a serious problem in the Virgin Islands for quite a long time. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Prosper?
60
seconds.
Can you say it again?
Yes.
Please.
Concerns have been raised about lack of accountability with respect to senators. It has been suggested that numbered seats might allow for better accountability. What are your responses to this idea? And again, you have 60 seconds.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Accountability is accountability. It doesn't matter. If you have 5 Senate, 9, it doesn't matter. We need to take it very serious because we are supposed to be the role models. We're supposed to set the example. So people are looking, the constituents are looking. So we have to show that, yes, you have to be held accountable no matter where you're at. It has nothing to do with seats. We need to hold people's feet to the fire and do what is right. Thank you.
Thank you. On another topic, we of the League of Women Voters of the Virgin Islands are shocked and dismayed to hear far too many citizens say they are not voting this year because they see little happening to alleviate their suffering with high food prices, insecure energy resources such as WAPA, lack of affordable housing, and crime year after year of voting. What can you tell these citizens about reasons for voting in November? You'll have 60 seconds, and we will start with Mr. Ritter.
Thank you for that question. What I will say to citizens who are contemplating voting in November is that your vote is your voice. It is your constitutional right. We are in a position and a place in society today where those our forefathers that came before us fought for you to have the opportunity to have that voice. We have individuals that come here from the Eastern Caribbean and other places in the world seeking an opportunity to further better and develop themselves, and we provide them those opportunities. And that right to vote is also passed on to them. So I would encourage each and every individual who's contemplating whether they should or should not vote to exercise your right to vote and think about the individuals that came before you, that some of them that even lost their lives, for you to have that opportunity. Your vote is your voice, and I encourage you to use it.
Thank you. And we'll go to Mr. Vieira. Again, all these things that are happening, high food prices, insecure energy resources, lack of affordable housing, and crime year after year. People are voting, they don't see any change. What can you tell citizens about the reasons for voting in November? And you have 60 seconds.
My message to the citizens as far as not voting is concerned: not voting would create a greater problem. We must understand that through time, the governance that we have had has created the issues that we are facing here today in the Virgin Islands. Not voting would enable the individuals who have created this problem over time, who are still sitting in the legislature, to continue in the same path. So the voters that decide that they're not going to vote this time, or those who have never voted, now is your chance, now is your opportunity to make a difference, to put different voices in the Senate so that we can see change. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Prosper, again, all of the insecure energy, lack of affordable housing, crime, what can you tell these citizens about the reasons for voting in November? You have 60 seconds.
Yes, thank you for the question. I would implore on my neighbors, my family, my citizens, my countrymen right here. I know it is difficult. Some days I go to the groceries, I feel the same pain that you are. But for me to decide that I'm not going to vote, it doesn't help the problem. And matter of fact, I think when you decide that you don't want to vote, it is fair that I should let you know the problem doesn't go away. I know right now we're in a situation where it looks like there's no hope, but I'm asking, please go and exercise your right. Things will change, it will, but we all have to do it together. Together we can prosper, but we need for you to go out there and exercise your right. You don't have to, but it is really your right. And I would hope that you would, reconsider that there is hope. There is hope. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Jean-Baptiste, again, what can you tell these citizens about reasons for voting in November? You have 60 seconds.
There is a difference between knowledge and education. Knowledge empowers, but education enlightens. All of the problems that you've delineated have a connection to either the lack of education, miseducation, or undereducation of our people. I personally want to begin the transformation of our education system so that every teacher can teach and every student will learn, so that civics become an important part of our curriculum. And so I encourage everybody out there to go out and vote. Vote for me, get me elected so I can begin the push towards the transformation of our educational system here in this territory and remediating the concerns and the issues that we're faced with. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have so many important questions for you, but a 60-minute program doesn't allow us to discuss them all. So let's see how far we can go. And let's look at some of the major concerns. There are 4 areas of major concern to the public as indicated by a survey: education, crime, health, and WAPA. With limited time, each candidate gets to select one of these topics of particular interest to address for 60 minutes, but may address other items later in the program as time permits. But everyone will address a different question on the issue of WAPA. You each get 60 seconds, and at the end, if anyone would like to add or rebut anything, they will get 50 seconds. So we'll start with Mr. Ritter. With respect to WAPA as one of the top 4 concerns cited by voters, what do you see as the major challenges for WAPA, And what would be your strategies for addressing them as a senator in the 36th legislature? And you have 60 seconds.
Thank you for that question. The issue with WAPA to me is multi-layered. It's operational, it's managerial, as well as it is fiscal. I think that the first thing that we need to do is the Water and Power Authority definitely needs to be audited. It definitely needs to be audited from a financial perspective. The government has bailed out the authority on many different occasions without the people knowing exactly where our funding went. I believe that the issue at WAPA is multi-layered. Another part of it is from an engineering and infrastructural perspective. I think that if we could get away from a lot of the fossil fuels and focus more on renewable energies, such as solar energy, and stuff like that, we would be able to advance the authority and make it a more modern facility. So those would be my concerns for the Water and Power Authority. Most definitely, it needs to be audited, and oversight and accountability needs to definitely be applied as it relates to the authority.
Thank you. Mr. Vieira, would you like to add anything or rebut? You have 50 seconds.
In this year 2024, I don't think that we need to rely solely on buying a commodity daily to supply power here in the Virgin Islands. Yes, we can use some sort of fuel to supply power, but not solely. We need to investigate ocean current, wind power, or solar power, and make these renewable energies the major part of how we produce power here in the Virgin Islands, and probably a backup and some kind of fuel to enhance these renewable energies. So that would be my position as far as WAPA is concerned going forward.
Ms. Prosper, would you like to rebut or add anything? And you would have 50 seconds.
Okay, thank you. The only addition I would add, because everyone is going to talk about solar, wind, I mean, these are conversations that's everyone is talking about. But what I think we need to look at is the average household cannot afford solar. So we need to be able to either find grants through the Energy Office, make it a way that people can apply and get the help they need, because the average person cannot afford solar. Okay, so it's good to talk about it, but when we talk about reality, we are living in poverty here in St. Croix. And the last thing people can afford right now, although they need it to get away from WAPA, is a double-edged sword. So we need to be able to offer them programs that they can apply, that the government can pay for, where it can alleviate them from paying this WAPA bill.
Mr. Jean-Baptiste, is there anything you'd like to add or rebut to that question? You have 50 seconds.
Okay, I don't want to rebut. I just want to simply add that as we go forward in dealing with WAPA, we need to think outside the box. I noticed that a lot of land space is limited here in the Virgin Islands, especially on St. Croix. And we're using a lot of land to put solar panels out there. But there are places, and studies at universities have proven that it works, where they're putting roofs over portions of the highway where you have solar panels, and so that utility companies can tap into solar power to feed it into the grid. And I think we can begin to see how it's feasible that we can put solar roofing systems over portions of our highway, as opposed to using prime agricultural land and limited land space for solar panels here in the territory.
Thank you. Mr. Vieira, you'll start with this question. There are many other ways to provide electricity for the public besides the government. Some people have continued to suggest, for example, that WAPA be privatized. What is your position on privatization of WAPA? And if not, what else? You have 60 seconds.
I personally do not believe that our power system should be privatized. What I think is that we need to look into renewable energy, as I stated before, because buying a commodity daily to produce power would not ever reduce our electricity bill. Ocean current, which is modern technology, of course solar is available, and also wind energy. We here in St. Croix, we here in the Virgin Islands, are a farmer colony of the main wind generating power production country on earth, which is Denmark. We need I would suggest that we need to tap in to some sort of reparation as far as some kind of repayment for slavery to the Virgin Islands from Denmark to solar power.
Ms. Prosper, would you like to add anything or rebut that? You have 50 seconds.
Thank you. I would stay on the same, like I said before, make it affordable for people. Make it, maybe we can look at district and solar panels. You know, if you live here, we have solar panels, like find ways that people, the burden is not on the people to afford this when they are barely making it as it is. So it is a conversation that's out there and we need to continue to have, we need to have our people who is feeling it actually come in a room and talk about it and, you know, give their ideas. Again, government is for the people, by the people. So I always say before you make a decision that is, you know, monumental, get people's input because it's very important.
Thank you. Mr. Jean-Baptiste, would you like to add anything or rebut that? You have 50 seconds.
Thank you for the opportunity. I simply want to add that, you know, I don't support privatization of WAPA right now. I think we have audit reports that tell us exactly what the problems are with WAPA. A lot has to do with management. And so if we really look to have independent financial audits of WAPA, and we take the results of those audits into consideration and put in place action steps to remediate, I think we can bring WAPA under control. So I personally do not support the privatization of WAPA, but having it managed in a successful, efficient manner.
Thank you. And Mr. Ritter, do you have anything you'd like to add or rebut? And you would have 50 seconds.
Just quickly, I would like to add that I agree that I would not agree to the privatization of WAPA. Not whatsoever. I do agree with my brother here that reparations from Denmark will be an avenue that I would be interested in looking at, but not privatization.
Thank you. Now everyone gets to choose among the other topics of crime, education, or health. We will start with Mr. Ritter. Choose a topic, crime, education, or health. Which would you prefer?
Education.
Education. With respect to education, cited by voters as one of the 4 major concerns, what do you see as the primary challenges facing education today? And what would be your strategies for addressing them as a senator in the 36th legislature? You have 90 seconds.
Well, I definitely believe that one of the main issues that we're facing as a territory is infrastructure. We're rebuilding schools after the storms, Hurricanes Irma and Maria. And in rebuilding of those schools, the department has met challenges with finding the appropriate individuals who are able to do the work. We don't have the workforce that is needed to build the schools in the time frame and the capacity that is needed. So I definitely think that is an area, as a senator coming to you with 15 years of labor relations and compliance experience, where I can offer expertise in recruiting some of the Virgin Islanders who are living in the diaspora that has the engineering experience as well as the background to come and lend a hand in that area. I also believe that programs such as the Youth Commission, as well as the Virgin Islands Legislative Youth Council, needs to be brought back and being brought back to active status to give our youth a voice. I think our youth is missing a voice in the entire process. They are key components and stakeholders in the situation, and we need to give them their voices back. So as a senator, that would be one of the things that I would definitely do. First thing would be is to adopt a school, bring back the Youth Commission, as well as the Legislative Youth Council to give those youths a voice.
Thank you. Mr. Vieira, what would you like? Would you like crime, education, or health?
Education.
Okay. Again, same question. What do you see as the primary challenges facing education today, and what would your strategies be for addressing them as a senator in the 36th legislature? And you have 90 seconds.
Good afternoon, good day again, Julian Vera. Education, which is the most important component in any society. What I see is that through the years, our education system has failed the Virgin Islands drastically. What I would propose, being a senator in the 36th legislature, is to adopt an education curricula that would be tailored to the people of the Virgin Islands. We have been a people in the Virgin Islands who have been subjected to slavery, now colonialism. We need an education that would move our people from understanding who they used to be, who they are today, and who they need to be in the future. Education should be the driving force between building a proper community. Due to the fact that our education system has failed us for decades, is the main reason why we are in the position we are today. I see through the education system we can show our children how to be responsible to government. I see through the education system we can teach our children to be responsible to each other and their responsibility to the community itself. Education I see to be the major and the key component in moving our Virgin Islands forward.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Prosper, would you prefer crime, education, or health?
It's so funny because they all interlap. You cannot, crime.
Right. With respect to crime, cited by voters as one of the top concerns, what do you see as the challenges to our community, and what would be your strategies for addressing them as a senator in the 36th legislature? And you have 90 seconds.
Okay, thank you for the question. Crime is a problem here in the Virgin Islands. It's multifold though. We can talk about how we need to talk to our children from going into education. You can, provide them the support they need. We're talking about things that we need to do as far as help children know how to behave, the things we need to do to support the police department, make sure that they have the tools that they need. Look into putting community policing, have that police officer now be a friend in the community. Let them be visible. You don't see police anymore, and it could be that the kind of crime that they have to deal with, that the criminals have out there, is way more than what they have. But okay, so then equip them. Give them what they need to come out here, because you really can't police, you cannot police your community and keep it safe and you're away from it. So that would be one of the things that we need to do. And pretty much, it starts where we start where you're at in your community. If you see something that doesn't look right, you need to say something. In my position as a senator, I definitely will be pushing for measures so we can have grants for the kids, have things for them to do in the community.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Mr. Jean-Baptiste, would you like crime, education, or health?
Thank you. I choose education.
Okay.
I choose education, and I give you the kick, which is that we had student protests at the opening of school last year. We had student protests at the opening of school this year. We recently had a child who was cut by a falling fan from the ceiling. I choose education because statistics reveal that 40% of our children are living below the poverty level. 89% of 7th graders are not proficient in math. 78% of 3rd graders are not proficient in English language arts. 75% of our high school graduates are required to take remedial courses upon entering UVI. It has to do with poor resource allocation. And I believe that as a senator, I know the importance of optimization, planning, and resource utilization, and so I can go in there and help remediate the situation with our schools. That's my position on education, and that's the reason why I am seeking a seat in the legislature, to remediate the situation.
Thank you. Now this question will be for, you'll all get the same question. In addition to the 4 major concerns we have discussed, it was found by the AARP, that many families are suffering from being caregivers for aging and aged family members, resulting in the alarming draining of their own resources. Many say they will support those candidates who have solutions to assist family caregivers. What do you see possible as a legislature to help family caregivers? You'll have 60 seconds to answer, and we'll start with Mr. Ritter.
I can speak to that because I'm an individual who currently cares for an ill mother. My mother worked for the Department of Education for 32 years and fell ill and had to leave the territory because the services that she needed could not be provided. I think that a major resource that we need to provide to people, a lot of times we think that it's money, but sometimes it's just simple, a care, a phone call, some type of mental health coping mechanism that can be provided to individuals who are in the struggle. Because I like to say, who feels it knows. You don't know what it feels like when you have to take your mother and see her be airlifted and taken out of the territory to seek care. So one of the services that I would encourage that would need to definitely be provided is the mental health coping mechanisms to deal with that situation.
Thank you. Mr. Vieira, what do you see as possible as a legislature to help family caregivers? You have 60 seconds.
What do I see that should be available? Well, we know that nothing can be done without funding, because if we have families that we need to take care of and we do not have funding and we need to go out on a job, so I would make sure that we provide funding and spaces and safe spaces, I would say, so that individuals can take their older family members, that we can assist them in the right manner. So funding and spaces, safe spaces that can be created to take older individuals and we can properly help them and assist their families is what I would push for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Prosper, again, what do you see as possible as a legislature to help family caregivers?
Yeah, for sure.
60 seconds.
Yes. Now, caregivers doesn't necessarily have to be for elderly. You have a lot of people here who has children with disabilities. So anyone who has this struggle, because it is a struggle to be, our median age here in the population is 45. So imagine you at that age, you now have to take care of your mom who's experiencing early dementia. You know, you have a child who has challenges, you know, it is difficult. One of the things I'm thinking is that somehow that we can work with human services or an entity where the caregiver gets a break. Somehow we push legislation where they get 4 hours or something in there that they can actually take a mental break, because that is what you need. When you have to be taking care of someone, I have friends, I have family who is dealing with it right now. It's extremely difficult because it takes away from you. So that would be something that I would push for, is to have legislature where they can get.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Jean-Baptiste, again, what do you see possible as a legislator to help family caregivers? You have 60 seconds.
Thanks for the question. Let me just say that, first of all, there are best practices in other jurisdictions that we can employ to address the situation here, to provide support services for those caregivers so that they can get to do what they're doing. At the same time, I want to say to us that, you know, look at the cancer rates in this territory. Look at the rates of dementia. You have people 50 years now suffering from dementia. Something is radically wrong with this. And we need to have some kind of a study system in place to find out what is wrong, what's causing people in the late 40s and early 50s to succumb to dementia, what's causing the number of cancer deaths we're having. If I had to count for you, I mean, it is just totally absurd, the number of our persons dying from cancer, diabetes, heart diseases, etc. Preventative action is what we need. Educate the people so that they can take better care of themselves and avoid that. We can have 90, 100-year-old people living independently if we teach such action. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I do a rebuttal?
I'm sorry, we're not allowed
No,
rebuttal.
on
We're
that
getting
one.
to the end
Okay.
right now. Okay, so this will be our final question.
Yeah.
Let's talk a bit about housing. Many young families are leaving the territory because they cannot afford the housing market here or even find affordable rents. What is your position on rent control for the Virgin Islands? What are suggestions to address lack of affordable housing? You have 60 seconds. We'll start with Mr. Vieira.
Addressing affordable housing. Again, our community is suffering based on the governance we have had over time. Addressing affordable housing is not a simple issue. It's not an issue that we can solve overnight. Education of self-sufficiency is one of the pillars that we need to address whatever problems we have in the Virgin Islands. So we need to understand that there's no quick fixes for the situations we have in the Virgin Islands, including the housing crisis that we're encountering. proper education as to how to go about owning your own, and proper education as to how to be self-sufficient is the key to overcoming all the problems that we're having here in the Virgin Islands, including affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Proctor? Prosper.
Yes.
My apologies.
Yeah. Thank you for the
60 seconds.
Yes, thank you for the question. Yes, affordable home ownership here in the Virgin Islands is extremely difficult. One of the things that talking to young families who is having a hard time on several of the programs that we have here is the initial criteria, the qualifications to get on the program. I think if we work with the programs to change the criteria a little bit, like have ways that people can qualify for these homes, because sometimes the things they ask them to bring, the things they do not have it, So I think if we can work with the people of the Virgin Islands, the young people, whoever is looking for a home, we can get better, because studies have showed that a strong foundation, raising a child in a home, it's a good thing, it's a positive thing, and it leads into better citizenship. So being able to own your home, yes is okay.
Thank you. Mr. Jean-Baptiste, again, what is your position on rent control for the VI, and what are suggestions to address lack of affordable housing? And you have 60 seconds.
Thanks for the question. First of all, to find the solution, you have to know the cause. We must identify what gives rise to, the lack of affordable housing in the territory, and then we can begin to formulate the solutions. I also want to mention that if you drive into Williams Delight, if you go into Harvey Project and several others, you're going to see units that are boarded up. We need to find out from the Housing Authority, why is it that these units are boarded up and not being renovated so that people can occupy them? We have homes out there that have been abandoned, and the government can enter into private-public partnerships to rehabilitate those homes and to have them sold to individuals or open up for rentals. So I'm saying that as a senator, I can do further research and put in place the policies that can begin to address and remediate those situations. Thank you.
And Mr. Ritter?
Yes, thank you for the question. I do believe that
60 seconds.
I do believe that lack of affordable housing is a underlining issue to a major problem. A lot of our young people, some of the best skilled in engineering, healthcare, and other industries, are remaining on the U.S. mainland because of the housing crisis. Most recently, I saw where some individuals were giving grants or certification letters to purchase homes that they have already been living in. I think an immediate resolution to that problem would have been to grant those homes to those individuals who would have already paid for them 10 times over. We can't continue to dangle fruit and dangle legislation. We need to act and stop legislating. We can't continue to legislate our way out of everything. And I think it's time for action and put a rest to the legislation.
Thank you. Now, each candidate will have 60 seconds each for a closing statement, starting with Mr. Ritter.
To the people of the Virgin Islands, once again, my name is Jelani Ritter. I am number 21 on your November the 5th election ballot. I come to you being anything but the establishment. I come to you today humbly asking for your vote. I am a representative of what we are taught in the Virgin Islands. You go to school, you get your education, you go abroad, you learn the processes, and you bring them home on a pallet willing to serve. I represent a new generation of leadership. We've seen the path that we've been taken on by the individuals who brought us to where we are today. And in order for us to be able to effectuate change and take this territory to a place of prosperity, we have to be able to elect individuals that have the Virgin Islands' best interests at that heart. And I am one of those individuals. I don't know anything else other than the Virgin Islands. This is my home. I am a 9th generation Crucian with pre-colonial roots deeply embedded into the town of Frederiksted, and I'm asking you for your opportunity to serve as your next legislator in the 36th legislature. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Vieira, your closing statement, 60 seconds.
Good day again. My name is Julian Vieira. I'm an independent candidate for the 36th legislature, number 16 on your ballot. I come to you today asking for your support because I'm fully aware of where the Virgin Islands is, where we're at today. I'm fully aware of how we got to where we're at. And through education, through self-sufficiency, through better government and through a money system, I see that I can help move the Virgin Islands from where we're at today to a better place. We have seen where governance have brought us to in the Virgin Islands today. It's evident that we need better leadership in government. So I'm asking for your support going forward on November 5th, Julian Vera, so we, together, you and I, myself and the public, can forge a better Virgin Islands going forward. I thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Prosper, again, your closing statement. You have
Yes.
60 seconds.
Yes. Hi, my fellow people. Once again, my name is Diane Prosper, number 22 on the ballot, independent candidate for the 36th legislature. I come to you to humbly ask you for your vote. It's a rough time. I do realize that. I am asking that if you do vote for me, I am in this battle with you. I represent everyone because we all live here. Together we can prosper. But it's going to take everybody to come together and do what we need to do. I strongly emphasize on mental health because our mental health right now is in a state of crisis. And with WAPA and everything else, I do understand. So I'm asking for your vote on November coming up for your vote that I can support you and fight your fight in the legislature. Thank you.
And Mr. Jean-Baptiste, your closing, 60 seconds.
Norman John Baptiste, number 13 on the ballot, also known as BAPO. We today stand at the crossroads between the darkness of night and the light of day. It is the darkness of night that impedes progress when WAPA says there shall be no light. It is the darkness of night that has our children living below poverty level, not being proficient in language, arts, and mathematics. It is the darkness of night that has corruption in our government. It is the darkness of night that has the increase in crime. I am asking for your support so that we can begin to make the change at the legislative level. I want to push back against the darkness of night. I ask for your support because I have the background, the requisite training and experience to begin to move the ball forward. Norman John Baptiste, number 13 on the ballot, also known as BAPO, which stands for Better at Political Office.
Thank you, candidates and viewers, and thank you, WTJX TV and staff, for today's program. The League of Women Voters hopes this program has helped with you, the voter, in understanding of the candidates and in so doing, inform your vote in November. The League reminds you that your vote determines the future of the Virgin Islands. Every vote does count. During elections, we often see an individual who barely makes the cut because a few more people did vote, or one who barely loses and wishes if only a few more persons had voted. So, let your voice be heard by your vote. It's your right. Take it. Thank you for watching. I am Francine Lang for the League of Women Voters of the Virgin Islands, saying vote early or vote in November, just vote.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily those of WTJX, its board, staff, or underwriters.
Closed captioning for this program was underwritten by AARP of the Virgin Islands.